Hi everybody, my name is Jens Larsen. In this video I'm going to take a look at some phrases from a Gilad Hekselman solo on a blues in F. I think it really clearly demonstrates how he has some very strong melodic and rhythmical ideas, but also how he really works a lot with reharmonizations, because this solo is almost like a library of different ways to reinterpret a 12-bar blues. I think he hardly plays the same set of changes more than once throughout the solo. So I'm going to look at some of the different reharmonizations that he's using, how he's creating lines on them, and also how he's working with different sounds for the F7, and also using some really strong references to the melody of the piece that he's playing, because that never really goes away. If you want to learn more about jazz guitar, improve the way that you solo, check out some interesting arpeggios or chord voicings, then subscribe to my channel. If you want to make sure not to miss anything, then click the little bell notification icon next to the subscribe button. This solo is on an F blues off of Gilad Hekselman's first album called Split Life. It's with Hoenig and Joe Martin on drums. As far as I know, it's not on Spotify, but you can actually buy it on Gilad's website, so I'll link to that in the description. You should definitely check out it. It's a great album with a lot of great renditions of standards and some of his own compositions. This first example is in the first chorus of the solo, and it's when we're coming back from the 4th degree in bar 6. So starting on F7. Now normally here you would have F7 and then next bar A half diminished D7 to G minor 7, C7, and then some sort of turnaround. But here what Gilad is playing is F7 and then moving up to an A flat 7 for a bar, G7 and then a G flat 7, and then the turnaround. And it's of course not really far away or really outside or completely unrelated to what was originally there, but he is really working with the fact that these are dominant, or at least the way he's playing is actually just major, but these are just other sounds that are moved around, and he's also using that when he's playing on it, because the first statement is really coming out of an F, second version F major triad, so, and then on the A flat 7 a similar phrase, and on the G7 sort of a development of that motif, so just a melodic variation on the same idea, and then that's repeated on the C7 that he's playing G flat 7 on. So, and then in the turnaround he goes into sort of a quote of the theme. So, but what he's doing is that he's of course not, he's displacing the theme. That's not what the theme sounds like in that part of the song or in that part of the form. And he's also playing it all on offbeats. And this is something that he does throughout the solo a few times, also shifting it around and moving it to other keys. And I think it's important to point out that even though he's still improvising with the chords and changing them as much as he's just improvising with the lines that he's playing on top of the chords, I think he's still really playing the melody and using the fact that it is this melody that he's playing, which makes it maybe more of a composition and another kind of approach than just playing a blues, a 12-bar blues, and now we just play the theme and then we're just going to play some solos. There's still this constant reference back to the actual melody and using that, which is something that you'll find with people like Monk a lot, but it's actually not that common in jazz. This example is on the same part of the form as the previous one, but it's a few choruses later, and now he's playing some other changes here, and we're coming in on the 4th degree, so it's a B flat 7, then he plays a B diminished chord, and then instead of going to F7, he's kind of going to A minor, and then to a D7, flat 9, flat 13, and then playing just a straight G minor to C7. And here you also have an example of him playing really just a straight bebop line. You can really hear how he is coming out of a bebop tradition. The first part of this example is really just an ascending scale one. He starts on the E, which I think here is more of a leading note than actually sort of a part of the scale sound, but that's a little bit open to interpretation. And then just moving up the scale, and then from the B flat 7 going into B diminished, and then back to the tonic chord. And in this case it's not really like an F7, he's playing up to an A and a C, and then playing this underneath it, which I think is more like an A minor sound. So you kind of get this progression, B flat 7 to B diminished and then to A minor. Moving up to the flat 9 on the D7, adding the chord. And then we get a longer bebop phrase, so into the G minor here, and then that's all just pretty straight ahead bop phrasing on the G minor C7. And then the turnaround, he's using another kind of turnaround because he's going into F7, E flat 7, D flat 7 to C7, and again using the second inversion major triad. I get the impression that he might have checked out but maybe that's just because I checked it out. But it's a little bit like he checked out Take the Coltrane from Coltrane, where he's also using the major triad in the second version all the time. And this is all just really major triad second version moving down through the changes. So F7, E flat 7, D flat 7 to C7. The reason that I can keep on publishing videos every week is that I have a community of people over on Patreon that are supporting the channel. I'm very grateful for their support, and it's because of that I can keep on making all these very specific videos on jazz guitar and music theory. If you want to help me keep making videos, then check out my Patreon page. And if you join us over on Patreon, then I can also give you something in return for your support. Changing the first 4 bars of the blues form into another type of F7 sound that's really distinct is really a great way to just create some variation in your solo, and that's also an easy way to work with changing the harmony. And Gilad actually does this, I think, 3 or 4 times in this solo. So in the example I'm going to cover now, he's changing the F7 or the first 4 bars into F7 sharp 11, like a Lydian dominant sound. But there's also an example where he's playing actually G flat 7, because he's playing the theme of the song, but then a half step higher and also rhythmically displaced. And then there's another example where he's playing sort of an F7 altered for 4 bars. The example starts out with just a straight ahead F7 arpeggio played from the 5th, so from C, and then moving into to an F7 flat 5 arpeggio. First just playing from B to B, so the flat 5 and up to the flat 5 again. And then from here, so you can see that this would normally be on a B flat 7 bar, and that's not there anymore. So it's just thinking the F7 sound for the entire 4 bars. And then from here he stays with this arpeggio but moves into a pattern, but playing all of them on the offbeat. Again, something that he does really a lot in this solo. There's an example of it also in the first example that I covered, and he does this quite a few times, that he's moving all the phrasing to the offbeat just to create another rhythmical feel and making everything unclear. The effect of it works really well. Of course, also if you're playing with Hoenig, he will go along with you quite often when he does this. I think he does that in this one as well, and that of course makes the effect a lot stronger. So he just plays that pattern and then resolves to the B flat 7. If you want to check out another guitar player who's also really good at working with a guitar trio with bass and drums, then check out this video on Jonathan Kreisberg, where I'm analyzing some of his phrases and the way that he uses large intervals in his playing. If it's the first time you see one of my videos, then subscribe to my channel. If you want to help me keep making videos, then check out my Patreon page. That's about it for this time. Thank you for watching, and until next time.